بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. لله تبارك وتعالى. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala, everyone is well. And I hope that everyone had a blessed Jumu'ah and that they had great benefit from all the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in Yawm al-Jumu'ah. So we're going to continue with what I mentioned yesterday, if you can remind me. If you can't remind me, that means it wasn't that important and I don't need to continue. So who would remind me what I said I was going to do today? Does anyone remember? I remember. I'm just wondering if you remember. Good. 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 Good, Malika. What about the mutashabihat? What were we talking about? So continue yesterday's discussion. Yeah, what was yesterday's discussion? What about it? As Sheikh Salmon would say, what about it? Talk about the four. MashaAllah. West Coast Sufi, may Allah make you catch more streams, inshallah. They're all recorded, so you can go back and listen to them. Mm. Come on, y'all got to tell me what, I like engagement, if y'all can't tell that yet. I don't like just talking. I like to go back and forth and engage and make sure we're understanding. The question is, what am I supposed to be talking about today from what I left off yesterday? What was I talking about in order to know what I'm talking about today? This is like a test for me. To know how much you are retaining. Are you following? Are you just enjoying yourself? Or are you actually learning something? Good, Malika, to the rescue. How to apply tafweed to mutashabihah verses. Recite attributes in Arabic, affirm the attribute, negate likeness. You're missing something. Close, great. So now Malika's on to it. So there it is. Somebody fill it in. So she's right on course. But we mentioned 4 steps to that methodology, 4 essential basic steps. What were those 4 steps? When you come to verses that are mutashabihat, which can bear more than one meaning in the language, and the apparent meaning is not befitting to attribute to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how do you approach them? We gave 4 basic steps. Could anyone tell us what those steps were? And people came on and explained them. They were mostly from out of the country, but alhamdulillah. So I'm going to put the link up for Sufyan, since you're the first one I seen. All right, Sufyan, come in and explain it again, what you explained yesterday. Come join me to explain what you explained yesterday before we go into our review. This is a review. So Sufyan, come explain. Right, so you got to fix it, Malika. You left 2 things off. You only have 2 things there. So you left 2 things off. Sufyan is going to come from Singapore and explain it. Where are you at?
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. You might want to take them off camera. I don't know. If you don't mind, I don't mind. It's you.
Bismillah. Assalamualaikum
Can you hear
warahmatullahi.
me?
Are we okay?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. So tell me what we talked about yesterday so we can start.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. So how to apply tafweed is to, number 1, to recite the verse of ayat al-Quran with the mutashabihah and ambiguous verses in Arabic. And number 2 is to affirm the attribute and leave it to Allah, the true meaning. And number 3 is to negate likeness to any sort of creation. And number 4 is to affirm no howness to Allah.
Okay, so let's go back. So step number 1, we're talking about the verses in the hadith that are mutashabihat, related to the attributes of Allah. We recite them as they were revealed in the Arabic language or was mentioned by the Prophet in the Arabic language. And we make a stop there, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so repeat that.
Okay, number 1, read the Quranic verses or the hadith verses or mutashabihat verses in Arabic and leave the meaning to Allah. But we affirm.
Don't say the meaning at all. Just
Okay.
recite the verse as it was revealed and as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned it, or the hadith related to the mutashabihat when it's come to the attributes of Allah. That's one level. Just recite it as it came in the Quran or in the Sunnah in the Arabic language.
Okay. Number 1, recite in Arabic and just pass along. Number 2 is to affirm the attribute in Arabic.
No, number 2 is to do what?
Number 2 is of recite Arabic. Number two,
to
to leave the true meaning
leave the meaning to Allah
to
while negating the
negating.
apparent non-befitting meaning.
All right, okay. Maybe I just restart again. Number one is to recite it in Arabic and move along. And number two is to uh, leave the true meaning to Allah
Mhm.
and 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 not associate any non-befitting meanings to Allah.
Right?
Number three, negate the likenesses to creation.
No, number three, negate how.
Negate how. Then now the last one is to negate likenesses to creation.
And number four is negate. Okay, that's best math. Where's the cat? Can I see the cat?
That's the cat. Hold on.
Yeah, let me see your cat. I gotta apologize. MashaAllah. So, okay, cat, I'm sorry. I apologize. I will not hurt you. That was a figure of speech in the English language. Kill the cat. Curiosity, kill the cat is just meaning don't be nosy. It's not literal. So don't flee from me. What's the cat's name?
Mr. Blue.
Mr. Blue. Okay, Mr. Blue. I am your friend. All right, barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
MashaAllah. So these are the four things we talked about. So whenever we have verses or hadith that are mutashabihat, that means they could bear more than one meaning in the Arabic language, about the attributes of Allah, we recite the verse as Allah revealed it in the Arabic language, and we make a full stop. We recite the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in Arabic, full stop. That's level one. The second one, the second aspect is we make tafweed of the meaning while negating the unbefitting meanings. So we make tafweed. We leave the true intended meaning to Allah, but we negate any non-befitting meanings that come from that word. That's the second step. Number three, we negate howness, modality. So there is no how. It's impossible to attribute to Allah. And number four, we declare Allah transcendent above any attribute of creation. He's not attributed with any attribute of the creation. Those four steps, right? That's tafweed. All tafweed contains all of that. So the word at-tafweed. Okay. So all that is contained. So I want to give you examples how we do that. So I want to take a verse, Surah Taha, verse 5. So that is Surah 20, verse number 5. Right? Now, I want you all to learn this. Ar-Rahmanu, I'll put it. All right, that's it. So we're going to take this for an example. We're going to take that as an example. So that's surah number 20, verse number 5. Ar-Rahmanu ala al-arsh istawa. Right? So let's take this as how do we apply this? So that's in surah number 20, verse 5. It's talking about the attribute, or it mentions the attribute of al-istiwa. Right? So that's what that verse is talking about. Al-istiwa is an attribute of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala mentioned in this verse. The verb is istawa, referring to the attribute of al-istiwa. So applying a tafweed to this verse, we know Ar-Rahman is Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. And we know Al-Arsh is the largest of the creation, the ceiling of paradise. And in relation to Arsh, Al-Arsh, Allah mentioned this attribute of Al-Istiwa. Al-Istiwa is mentioned in the Quran in several locations, but we're talking about this one. So what do? We recite this verse. Ar-Rahmanu ala al-arsh istawa. If you ask, how do we translate it? According to Tafweed, we won't translate it. We won't. We'll recite it because it pertains to an attribute of Allah that is from the verses that are mutashabiha. They are bearing more than one meaning. Al-istiwa in the Arabic language has around 14 or more meanings. Right? 14 different meanings for the word istawa. Some of those meanings are befitting and some of them are not. Right? So we recite the verse because it was revealed. We don't change the words Ar-Rahmanu ala arsh istawa. That's the first level. Stop. No translation. We don't translate among those meanings in the language. We affirm Ar-Rahman ala arsh istawa as it was revealed in the Quran. That's what's in the Quran, nothing else. No other substitute word, no synonymous word, no metaphorical word, no figurative word, just Ar-Rahmanu ala al-arsh istawa. We believe in it as Allah revealed it. That's step one. Is that clear? Step one. Once you translate it, there's no longer tafweed. Once you translate it, it's no longer tafweed. You have assigned a meaning, and that is not tafweed. Is this part clear? Level one. I need more. There's a lot of y'all in here. I want to make sure everyone's following. If you're able to type, say clear. Clear. That's level one. Good. Level two. All right, I want to help y'all. Khadijah, I got your question. That's later. I got your question recorded, right? Don't go there yet. Stay where I'm at. So when you have, I want to help us with something. I'm going to come back to that. Because I don't want to get distracted. Try your best to just follow, then make side notes. I got your question though, Khadijah. Right now, I need to know, did you understand this part? Right now, I'm concerned with this part. Did you get this part? All right, you got that. So I'm going to ask, so please write it down. Step 1, recite the verse. In this case, we're talking about this verse. Recite it in the Arabic language as it was revealed, full stop. Once you translate, that's it. No longer tafweed. You just gave a meaning and you didn't do tafweed anymore. Y'all got it? Step number 2. It's called tafweed al-ma'na. Let me look at something. I have a better word for this, but I need to check because I'm not sure what the word means. But I have a better word to shorten this. Okay, that's good. Resigning the meaning to Allah. That's better for me. So that means you resign the meaning to Allah, meaning you give it up. You say it belongs to Allah. Allah knows and I don't. And you don't have nothing included in that. You stop. Tafweed al-ma'na, resigning the meaning to Allah. Don't involve yourself. Allah knows the meaning. That's it. Right? That's step 2. Included in step 2 is the negation of non-befitting meanings automatically. When you resign the meaning to of Allah, what is included in that is already a negation of non-befitting meanings. Which usually is the literal meaning that first comes to your mind when you hear that word. That's why it's become mutashabih. That's why it has more than one meaning, because the apparent meaning is not befitting to say about Allah. So that's number 2. Y'all got it? Is number 2 clear? Step 2. Everyone should be able to articulate this with ease. So step 2, is it clear? I'm talking about step 2 now. Say what? No, step 2 is to make tafweed al-ma'na, to resign the meaning to Allah, which is, it tells inside of that is to negate non-befitting meanings. Step 2, stay there. Step 2. So step 2 has an affirmation and a negation. Step 2, tafweed al-ma'na, has an affirmation that it is a meaning for this word. And this attribute has a meaning. We affirm a meaning. But that meaning is known only to Allah. Its definitive intended meaning is only known to Allah. So it is a meaning. And with that, there is a negation of non-befitting meanings that apply to that word. There you go, Noor. What Noor said, this is important. So in number 2, tafweed al-ma'na, it has the intended meaning. It has a meaning. No one says it doesn't have a meaning, as al-Wahhabiyya claim. We don't say it doesn't have a meaning. It has a meaning. And what that meaning is intended by Allah, Allah knows. We don't enter into that. But also there is negation of non-befitting meanings. The non-befitting meaning that applies to that word that is used as an attribute, we negate it. That's why we make tafweed by saying the intended meaning among the permissible meanings to use for Allah for that word, Allah knows. We don't pick it. We don't choose it. We leave it to Allah. Is that clear? Yeah, no, I appreciate you. I would tell you something else, but pause. So we got it? That's number 2. I'm holding your question, so don't put it back. Once you put your question, accept Imam Fahim's question. That's sarcasm. That's not a question, right? But I'm putting to the side. Please don't. I need you to understand this. Don't go nowhere else. We're going to have time to do all that other stuff, but stay focused. So everyone got number 2 and its explanation. Step 2. We got it? Is it clear? I'm going to show you examples of all of this. Don't worry about it. But let's just take one so we have something to build on. Let us clear our intentions that we're learning and benefiting and teaching and lillahi ta'ala. We mentioned it earlier, but let's just renew our intention because this is important. This can save us years of headache and generations of confusion if we get this down packed. So let's take our time with it. Don't worry about it. It's Saturday. It should be easy for us to relax. Okay, so step 2 is clear. Step 3. Step 3 is we negate al-Kayf or al-Kayfiyya from Allah and his attributes. There is a negation. Oops. Let me put it in capital letters. Okay, so that's step 3. Very important. Step 3 is a negation of al-Kayfiyya and al-Kayf related to Allah and his attributes. Please master this. Many people screw this up. And I think they don't realize it when they're talking, that this is an error, big error. And it's counter to what the Wahhabis say. You need to know this, and then I'm going to go to the Wahhabi side, and I'm going to just shred it to pieces, right? So don't worry, we're going there, right? So number 3 is a negation of al-Kayfiyya or al-Kayf, saying how or howness, modality, that's negated about Allah and his attributes. It's unlawful to attribute howness to Allah or his attributes. Haram. Whether that how is a how that we know, or even if it's a how you say Allah knows that we don't know. How is inapplicable to Allah and his attributes. There is no how. We don't say how about Allah and his attributes. There is no connection to Allah and his attributes with howness. Is that clear? That's number 3. Is it clear? Is that clear? Number 3. This part is extremely important, as well as as Imam Fahim said, 2a is important, that there is an affirmation of a meaning that Allah knows and a negation of non-befitting meanings. Number 3 is extremely important, that there is no how to be attributed to Allah and his attributes. Number 3 is clear. Finally, number 4 is easy. Allah does not resemble his creation. We affirm that Allah does not, we affirm that Allah is dissimilar to his creation. That's 4, that's easy. We affirm that Allah is dissimilar to his creation. Everyone got that? That's the creed of the Salaf. That's the creed that is the safest for the Ash'aris and Maturidis. That's the creed of the Hanabila. The real Hanabila, that's their creed. It is the same as the safest approach for the Ash'aris and the Maturidis, and it is the approach of the majority of the Salaf. Put that down. All this can be proven, and I'm going to give you examples, but I need you to get it first, right? Then I'm going to give you my dalil for all of what I just said. So this is the approach, number 1. So we got the 4, right? Now, who takes this approach? I'm going somewhere else. Don't forget 4. 4 is the approach. The 4, 1, 2, step 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the approach, the foundation of the approach, right? Now I'm going to who takes that approach. So put that separate. Who takes that approach? The majority of the Salaf. And when we say Salaf, we're talking about scholars. Y'all all realize that, right? The majority of the scholars of the Salaf, that's their approach. Number 2, the safest approach, according to the Ash'aris and Maturidis, is this approach. That's the safest. No need, if you got this, no need to go anywhere else. You got this, you safe. And that is the dominant approach of the Hanabila. That's their method. That was the approach of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. That approach is their approach. When they do that, that's why they say we don't make ta'wil, because we hear. So for them, there's no discussion. The discussion itself is problematic for them. The discussion itself is problematic. The fact that you're bringing up this issue is against the approach of the Salaf, meaning the majority of the Salaf, because there are exceptions. But we're talking about the general rule, right? And we never make the exception the rule. Please highlight this point. Could everyone put this up? This is extremely important. In Islam, we never make the exception the rule. Please put that up. In Islam, we never make the exception the rule. Please put that up, somebody. That is extremely important. In Islam, we never make the exception the rule. Could everyone copy that? That's going to come a lot in our teachings. In our instructions, you need to understand that. We never make the exception the rule. So the rule for us is this approach. But there may come exceptions, and there are exceptions for those circumstances, for those situations, and that's the only time we use it. Other than that, we go back to the rule. And the rule for us is a tafweed. Do y'all got it? Okay. So who takes this approach? The majority of the Salaf. This is the first initial foundational approach of the Ash'aris and the Maturidis, and it is considered the safest approach to take. When there is no need for nothing else, we stop right here. That's it. The Hanabila, this is their position as the general for them. There are exceptions, but this is the general position. The exception, this is the rule, not the, and the same as the Salaf. That was the rule. So when the Hanabila, now I want to say this, and y'all push me to this, and Noah's smiling from ear to ear. I can't even see him. He's like, yes, the Hanabila, right? Know why I'm emphasizing this? Because we're going to take out people hiding behind the Hanabila. We're going to destroy that. I would like more of the Hanabila, true Hanabila, to do this job. And maybe by me doing it as an Ash'ari, they'll step up and then we'll solve this problem, inshallah, together, collectively, right? But in the meanwhile, I'm going to highlight it. So this approach is their position. And that's why they say we don't even discuss it. Because for us, there's no discussion. It's no discussion. This is our position. This is the way of the majority of the Salaf. And we don't go anywhere else. So there's no discussion. We affirm what Allah said, what the Prophet ﷺ said, what the Prophet ﷺ said. We leave the true intended meaning to Allah. We negate any howness, and we know that Allah is not like his creation. Finish. Nothing to discuss. There's nowhere for my mind to go. It's gone. It's done. And that's the safest position, especially for us as African Americans. For us, it's extremely important that we understand that. I don't say go nowhere else. If you understand this, that's the end of the discussion. We don't have a fight. We don't ever have to argue. We never have to debate. If we can establish this as a principle in our communities, it's over. It's a done deal. No more Akida wars, as they call it. I don't think it's Akida war, but that's what they call it. Or Akida whores, unfortunately. I don't know where they got that one from. But so be it. Whatever you want to call it. Right? Whatever you want to call it. If we get this point, it's over. If we get this, it's over. No fighting. Nothing to fight about. Nothing to argue about. Is this point clear? Sheikh Noor, do you agree with me? Thus far, let's make sure we're on the same page, Jack. Do you agree if we can get this to be no fighting? You from Philly, it'll settle it, right? So I want all of us, this is our approach. I want all of us from our platform, this is our approach. This is our approach. We stop right here. Somebody else want to have that long conversation? Nah, we ain't doing all that. This is where we stop. And the rest of it, we leave to the learning. If they want to go further, let them do it. For us, we stop right here. We done with it. So based on that, you could call me Amin Al-Hanbali. Now, all you guys who was wishing, see now the Maliki's going to be mad. I thought he was going to be a Maliki. Nope. Amin Al-Hanbali. Everybody else claiming it. Why can't I? Right? All right. Okay. We got the 4 steps. We got the three people who approach it, right? Those three approaches, the Salaf, most of the Salaf, the safest position for the Ash'aris and Maturidis, the dominant foundational position for the Hanabila is the position of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Is that clear? I'm going to repeat it. The three approaches, the four-step approach, that approach is followed by three main groups. The majority of the Salaf, the safest position of the Ash'aris and Maturidis, and the dominant position of the Hanabila. Full stop. Those positions, positions are the position of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Is all that clear? Because I'm getting ready to go to add to it. Tomorrow I'll discuss the other part once you got this. Let's make sure this is clear. All right? Now, let's go to the Salaf. The Salaf are those first three generations. Right? This book is a very important book. Whoever reads Arabic, and I hope one day it's translated correctly, of course, but even just the translation would be helpful. It's called Al-Asma wa Sifat, right? Written by Imam al-Bayhaqi. Imam al-Bayhaqi, he died in the mid-5th century. This book is one of the most important books in the history of Islam in relation to Aqidah. Everybody who claims to be Sunni refers to this book, even those who pervert his meanings. Right? Very important. I want to read you a statement of the great Imam from the followers of the followers. His name is Sufyan ibn Uyaynah. Sufyan ibn Uyaynah died 198 after Hijrah. Write that name down, please. I think you're mixing the books up, Abdurrahim. The book you have is called Al-I'tiqad. That's a different book. It's not the same book. That's a smaller book by Al-Bayhaqi. Al-Asma wa Sifat is a bigger book. Or if you found a translation that's recent, I never heard of it, please share it with me. I've never saw Al-Asma wa Sifat translated. Al-I'tiqad was translated by Sheikh Nasir. And we're gonna do a whole, we got that book. We was going to put it up, but we're gonna do a whole seminar on that book. So we're keeping the books for the seminar, which is coming up within the next month or two. We're getting ready to do it soon. We're getting ready to start boosting up our on-the-ground lessons, like monthly. We're starting bi-monthly, but we're getting ready to go to monthly like we used to do. And that book is going to be taught from cover to cover with a detailed explanation. Together, myself, we're going to invite some other teachers, and we're going to go in it cover to cover, the whole thing. Don't worry about the book right now. Don't stay. That was just, I was helping Abdurrahim out. Let's stay focused. I got you covered. Trust me. Don't jump the gun. We got you. So, Asma wa Sifat, Sufyan ibn Uyaynah. Right? So, Sufyan ibn Uyaynah was one of the foremost, and we like to say the greatest, but so many scholars in those days, you shouldn't really say that. One of the famous scholars of Mecca and the leading scholars of Mecca in his time Sufyan Uyaynah was it. He was the sheikh of Imam al-Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So that is their sheikh in Mecca. Sufyan ibn Uyaynah is the sheikh of Imam al-Shafi'i and his student Imam Ahmad. Imam Ahmad and Imam al-Shafi'i both were students of Sufyan ibn Uyaynah, who was the leading scholar in Mecca in his time. Al-Bayhaqi died 458. 458, roughly. Bayhaqi died in 458. Okay, so what did Sufyan ibn Uyaynah say? This is talking about the attributes. I'm going to read like two of his statements, or maybe three. Three statements of his. Are y'all ready? All of them which Al-Bayhaqi mentioned. So write this name, Sufyan ibn Uyaynah, the sheikh of Imam al-Shafi'i, the sheikh of Imam Ahmad. So, so no one got to be boasting. If I'm Shafi'i and Sheikh Nur is Hanbali, his sheikh and my sheikh in the chain of narration learn from this sheikh. So he's above all of us, right? Sufyan ibn Uyaynah is above Imam al-Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad. He is their sheikh. So they learned from somebody. He was it. So Imam Ahmad didn't make the approach. He got it from somewhere. He got it from his sheikh. Imam al-Shafi'i didn't make the approach. He got it from somewhere. He got it from his sheikh. What was the approach of Sufyan ibn Uyaynah, who was at the same time of Imam Malik? Imam Malik was Imam Malik in Medina, and Sufyan ibn Uyaynah was Sufyan ibn Uyaynah in Mecca. So Mecca and Medina, before the Wahhabis, before there was such thing as Salafis. What did he say? Al-Bayhaqi mentioned in his book Al-Asma wa Sifat, three statements that I'm going to read. Three different, the same meaning, different wordings. I'm going to read them all to you. Y'all ready? Get your pens out. Let's go. That's the rap stuff. Bars. Let's go. Right? So the first statement, I'm going to read, Al-Bayhaqi mentioned it, so you know where to find it. Babu ma ja'a fi ithbat al-ayn sifatan. Al-Bayhaqi mentioned it in the section. This is the section in Bayhaqi's Asma wa Sifat. Bab ma ja'a fi ithbat al-ayn sifatan. The section that affirms the attribute of al-ayn. Right? So that's with the section of this first statement. The section that affirms al-ayn as an attribute. Al-ayn as an attribute. Al-ayn, this is on page 405 of the edition by Mu'assasatul Risala. For those who want to know where that, page 405 and 406 is the statement, right? And here's the book. So you'll see it, right? Bab ma ja'a fi ithbat al-ayn sifatan. La min haythu hadaqa. But affirm al-ayn as a sifa, right? That's the section. That's page 405. Page 406. Here's the page 406 under that section, and here's the quote, right? is highlighted. So you can go back. I'll leave it there for a second before I read it because I cannot read backwards. Let me try. Let me see how good I am. So what is highlighted? It is the 747th quote narration that al-Bayhaqi mentions. Call سمعت سفيان ibn Uyaynah يقول ما وصف الله تبارك وتعالى به نفسه في كتابه فقراءته تفسيره ليس لأحد أن يفسره بالعربية ولا بالفارسية. There it is right there. What does that mean? Al-Bayhaqi said, with his chain of narrators, so you notice, I don't need to read the whole chain. It's his sanad back to Sufyan ibn Uyaynah. There's no breaking chain. It is his chain, right? You see it. He just, now I go to the statement. Sufyan ibn Uyaynah said, whatever Allah, tabaraka wa ta'ala, attribute himself with it in his book, its recitation is its explanation. And it is not permissible for anyone to explain it in Arabic or in Persian. I'll repeat the statement. Sufyan ibn Uyaynah said, whatever Allah described himself, attributed himself with it in his book, its recitation, its recital is its explanation, and it is not permissible for anyone to explain it in Arabic or in Persian. Everyone got that? Y'all got the first statement? Everyone with me? Get your pens out. Right. Y'all got it? Say clear. That's why I know we clear. Clear? That's the first statement. Okay, good. Let's go to the second statement of Sufyan. Another narration, the same meaning, but another narration. So that's one section, right? Under another section, he mentions on page 513. What section? Bab ما جاء في قول الله عز وجل الرحمن على العرش استوى. Right? What is the page? So no one says he's making it up. Right? The section, that's Bab, and the first verse, he mentions a series of verses, but the first one is what we're talking about. ما جاء في قول الله عز وجل الرحمن على العرش استوى. Surah Taha, verse 5. There it is. So this is al-Bayhaqi. He mentioned the verse, right? Page 405, 513. Let's go to the next page and see what he said. Page 514. I highlighted it. The statement of Sufyan ibn Uyaynah here. Another statement. Y'all ready? And I'm going to come back to this later, but let's just deal with this part first, right? So he relates with his chain of narrations to Sufyan ibn Uyaynah. سمعت سفيان بن عيينة يقول كل ما وصف الله تعالى من نفسه في كتابه تفسيره تلاوته والسكوت عليه. What did he say? Sufyan ibn Uyaynah, he said everything that Allah described himself with it or attribute himself with it in his book, its explanation is its recitation and to remain silent about it. Wasukutu alayhi, after that, you stop. No more talking. You recite it. That's the explanation, and be quiet. You see it? No one say we making it up. I'm going to show you some other stuff too, but I need you to get the point first. I'm going to show you the Wahhabis playing with books. I'm going to show you because this was published by the Wahhabis themselves so that they know and they butcher it. I'm going to show you that part, but that's later. Let's just get the book itself, right? Y'all see it? Okay, good. That's the second statement. Similar to the first, the meaning's the same, different wording. So he all relates it with his chain of narration to Sufyan ibn Uyaynah. Let's go to the next one. What bab is this? The next one, statement in this book is on page 536, right? This is another statement of Sufyan ibn Uyaynah, right? Sami'tu Sufyan ibn Uyaynah, or ibn Uyaynah here, يقول ما وصف الله به نفسه فتفسيره قراءته ليس لأحد أن يفسره إلا الله تبارك وتعالى أو رسوله صلوات الله عليهم. Then it's another narration. He says, whatever Allah described himself with it, its explanation is its recital. It is not permissible for anyone to explain it except Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala and his messenger and his messengers. May Allah's salutations be upon them. There it is. So that's the scholar of the Salaf in Mecca, who was the Sheikh of Shafi'i, Imam al-Shafi'i, and Imam Ahmed and many others, rahimahullah ta'ala. That was his position. Recite it in Arabic as it was revealed, leave it, stop. Al-Bayhaqi related all of them with his chains of narration in the verse we were talking about in the section Ma Ja'a fi Qawlillahi Ta'ala Ar-Rahmanu ala Arsh istawa, in the section that talk about Al-Ain as a sifa. And then in another narration. So we got three narrations from Sufyan ibn Uyaynah related by Al-Bayhaqi with an authentic chain of narration that tells us just what we said. We didn't pull it out of the sky. It's in the books of the Salaf, in their words. We didn't pull it out the sky. It's not something we just made up. We're going to shatter that thought that said, if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. We're going to shatter that thought. Y'all remember that saying? You want to hide something from black man, put it in a book. We're going to shatter that thought. That concept, we're going to rip it to shreds. Because we actually read. You can't just tell us anything. And we don't just read them little pamphlets you translate and give it to us. That ain't happening. We actually read original texts, real sources. You can't lie to us. Them days is over. Are we there? I'm just warming up. So that's Al-Bayhaqi. Al-Bayhaqi died in what year? Al-Bayhaqi died in what year? (458). Sufyan ibn Uyaynah died in what year? Sufyan ibn Uyaynah died in what year? You are the funniest in the world, Selena. My grandmother used to hide money in her books. Because you know y'all ain't going nowhere near no literature. That's a good one. So my grandma used to hide money in the books. That is a good one. Ooh, grandma is smart. Oh. Oh, that was a good one. Good. Okay. So we got the 2nd century. We got Al-Bayhaqi related from the 5th century to the 2nd century with his chain of narrations, authentic chain of narrations. He's not skipping nobody. From generation to generation, this belief has been passed down. We got Imam Ahmed, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, explicitly having this approach, and his students having this approach to it became known as the Creed of the Hanabila. That's the approach. He got it from somewhere. He didn't make it up. He got it from his sheikh. That's what they were being taught in Mecca with that great scholar. Ash-Shafi'i had the same thing, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Got to know your stuff. This was in Mecca, so it's not, he met him in Mecca, not nowhere else, in Mecca. That's what they were doing. Okay, this is in the time of the Salaf. Let's move. The most authentic books after the Quran are which 2 books? After the book of Allah, what are the 2 most authentic books, relied upon books in Islam after the book of Allah? What 2 books? Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. Okay. Sufyan hit it first. These are the 2 most, everyone copy that as it is. Sahih, you should say Al-Bukhari, but that's fine. Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, right? Everyone copy that. The 2 most authentic books after the Quran are the Sahih of Al-Bukhari and the Sahih of Imam Muslim. Everyone copy it. I want y'all to stay with me. I know sometimes it's hard. We like to branch, but stick with me. Because I want you to be able to articulate this. Boom, 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 boom. So you're not intimidated anymore when someone comes to you with foolishness. Right? So these are the 2 most authentic books. By the agreement of the Muslims, the agreement of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, as Imam an-Nawawi mentioned in the first hadith, in his 40 hadith, that these are the most authentic books ever written. Sahih Bukhari, Al-Bukhari, and Sahih Muslim. That's number 1. What are the 2 most famous commentaries on those 2 books respectively that all Muslims read and follow? 2. What are they? The 2 most relied upon explanations of those 2 books respectively were written by 2 scholars. Who are they? Fathul Bari is one. That's the commentary on Bukhari. Who wrote it? So for Al-Bukhari, the most relied upon explanation is Fathul Bari, right? Written by Imam Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. The second one is on Sahih Muslim, written by whom? The explanation of Sahih is called Al-Minhaj. The explanation of Sahih Muslim, written by who? Imam an-Nawawi. So, Fathul Bari by Ibn Hajar, not Hajar, Ibn Hajar, Al-Asqalani, and Imam an-Nawawi. Those books are the most relied upon books in explaining those books. In other words, if you talk about Sahih al-Bukhari, or you talk about Sahih Muslim, and you don't talk about Ibn Hajar, Al-Hafidh Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, or Imam an-Nawawi, no one's going to listen to your talk. It's as if you're not talking. Right? So first came Imam an-Nawawi, who wrote the 40 hadith. You know Imam an-Nawawi. Imam an-Nawawi died 676 AH. And Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, he died 852 AH. Right? Everybody copy that. Please copy it. Because these are great scholars. All of them Hufaz. They all memorized over 100,000 hadith with their chain of narration. Sufyan ibn Uyaynah, Al-Hafiz al-Bayhaqi, Al-Hafiz al-Nawawi, Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. These are the greats. Al-Albani can't tie none of their shoes. Muqbil can't tie none of their shoes. Bin Baz can't tie none of their shoes. Ibn Uthaymeen can't tie none of their shoes. Salih Fawzan can't tie none of their shoes. None of them, not even close. It is as if the dwarfs are challenging giants. It is as if the dwarfs are challenging giants. Let's stop playing games. Okay? So we're talking about the most authentic books after the Book of Allah, and the most relied upon commentaries of those books accepted by Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, by the foremost Hufaz of this nation. Okay, we all got it, right? Let's go to Imam an-Nawawi. And this, here's the catch. All of these books were published by the Wahhabis themselves. So you cannot say, I made it up, we left it out. No, you published it. It's your edition, not the edition the Sunnis made, the edition by the Wahhabis. So we cannot say we altered it. You did it. It's your book. You the one published it. So you know what's in it. You can say, oh, that's just the Ash'aris doing that stuff. No, you published it. So you know what it was, right? It's very important about that. Here's, right, the book Al-Minhaj, which is the Sharh of Sahih Muslim, right? This is their publication, their edition. Let's go to page 78. Where's my glasses? Shoe glasses. On page 78, let's go to page 77 first, right? You remember that famous hadith about the slave girl? Right? Where the Prophet asked the slave girl, قال لها عين الله. قالت, she said, في السماء. Remember that? Where is Allah? That question they always ask you. Here it is. Imam Muslim mentioned it in his narration, right? Now let's go see what Imam an-Nawawi said about that. The next page. Hard for me to read backwards, but I'll give it a try, right? Let's go to first. He said, هذا الحديث من أحاديث الصفات. This hadith is among the hadiths of the attributes. وفيها مذهبان تقدم ذكرهما مرات في كتاب الإيمان. These is two approaches, two schools of thought As we mentioned them previously many times in the book of Al-Iman, the book of faith, which is an earlier book. Look at this. Ahaduhuma, one of them, and this is the one we're talking about right now, al-imanu bihi min ghayri khawdin fi ma'na. It is to believe in it and not discuss its meaning. مع اعتقاد أن الله تعالى ليس كمثله شيء وتنزيهه عن سمات المخلوق. Excuse me. He said, in addition, believing that Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, nothing is like him, and to declare him transcended from any characteristics of created things, of the creation. Look, there it is. We're not even going to the second one, because he mentions the second one. What does an-Nawawi say? وَالثَّانِي تَأْوِيلُهُ بِمَا يَلِيقُ بِهِ. To interpret it figuratively as befits Allah. We're not going to discuss that right now. We're just talking about the first madhab, right? The first approach. Al-imanu bihi min ghayri khawdin fi ma'na مع اعتقاد أن الله تعالى ليس كمثله شيء وتنزيهه عن سمات المخلوق. That's what he said. To believe in it without discussing its meaning. Also, to be convinced that Allah Ta'ala, nothing resembles him, nothing is like him, and he is clear from the characteristics of creation, of the created thing. Isn't that what we said? That's Imam an-Nawawi. That's the first approach. He mentioned it many times. And this is when the slave girl, when they talk about fis sama, right? Let me go down. This is going to go into more details. All right, let's stop there. I don't want to go into all these details yet. Do we got that? Y'all got that? Everyone clear where Imam an-Nawawi said it? Right? There it is. Page 77. Under the hadith of the slave girl. What did he say? This is among the hadith of the Sifat. And the first approach is to believe in it without discussing its meaning. Don't apply the apparent meaning. No, don't discuss the meaning. And believe that Allah is not like his creation and he's clear from resembling characteristics of created things. That's tafweed. Y'all see it? That's Imam an-Nawawi. Lil-Imam al-Allama Muhyiddin Abi Zakaria Yahya ibn Sharaf an-Nawawi. Died in 676. Okay? So, there's one. We got Sahih Muslim. We got Imam an-Nawawi. They believe it. Sufyan ibn Uyaynah, al-Bayhaqi, Imam Ahmed, Imam al-Shafi'i, Imam an-Nawawi, all Hufav, right? It's under the hadith of the slave girl. Which chapter? Kitab al-Masajid, the book of masjids. Which is the sixth book in Sahih Muslim. Okay, so we got, we got, so far we down to the 7th century. Hufav, they all said this is a valid position. Let's go to Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar, Asqalani, Fathul Bari, Bisharh Sahih al-Bukhari. Al-Imam Al-Hafiz Shihabuddin Ahmed ibn Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. He died 852. Published Risalat al-Alamiyya. That's the publishing company. Okay. He talks about in the section of Abwab al-Tahajjud, the sections that deal with at-Tahajjud. And this is, what page is that? Page 350 here. What is he discussing in the Bab al-Dua wa Salat fi min akhir al-layl, the section of supplicating and prayer in the last of the night? He's talking about the hadith, Yanzilu Rabbuna Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, right? That Allah has the attribute of an-nuzul, Yanzilu, right? Which they translate as descend. So he talks about that hadith. Let me go to what Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar mentioned about this. After the narration, page 352. Let's go right to a quote. Page 352, right? Pardon me, reading backwards may be extremely difficult, right? Qawluhu, his statement, meaning the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yanzilu rabbuna ila as-sama'i dunya, ila as-sama'i dunya, that Allah, our Lord, yanzilu ila as-sama'i dunya, to the lowest heavens, right? The heaven of the world, right? Look what Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani says. Istadalla bihi man athbat al-jiha. The people who establish a direction for Allah, they try to use this as a proof. Waqala hiya jihatul ulu. And they say this is the direction of aboveness. Then he says, wa ankara dhalik al-jamhur. The majority of the scholars negate that. They negate establishing a direction. لأن القول بذلك يفضي إلى التهيز وتعالى الله عن ذلك. Why? Because saying that it leads to confining Allah to a place. At-tahayyuz is to be confined to a place, and Allah is clear from that. He said, وَقَدْ اخْتُلِفَ فِي مَعْنَى النُّزُولِ عَلَى الْأَقْوَالِ. He said, and it is different about the meaning of an-nuzul, which people translate wrongly in relation to Allah as descending. So an-nuzul is the attribute. What did they say? And look at the first one he mentions. Go to the next page. He said, فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ حَمَلَهُ عَلَى ظَاهِرِهِ وَحَقِيقَتِهِ وَهُمُ الْمُشَبِّهَةِ تَعَالَى اللَّهُ عَنْ قَوْلِهِمْ. He said, among those people are those who take it upon the apparent literal meaning, and they are al-mushabbiha, those who liken Allah to his creation, and Allah is far above being attributed by their statement. Then he mentions another statement. Let's go to this one here. This is the point I wanted to make, right? So the Mushabbi are the ones say it's got to be literal. And Hafiz Badger said, no, Allah is clear of that. Then he says, what? Oh boy, this is rough reading. Then he says, وَمِنْهُمْ من أجراه على ما ورد مؤمنا به على الطريق الإجمال منزها لله تعالى عن الكيفية والتشبيه وهم جمهور السلف ونقله البيهقي وغيره عن الأئمة الأربعة والسفيانين right وهمادين والأوزاعي والليث وغيرهم. Then he mentions among the scholars are those who let it pass as it has been narrated while believing in it in the general meaning, right? Briefly, clearing Allah from al-kayfiyya, look, clearing Allah from howness and resemblance, munazzihan lillahi ta'ala anil kayfiyya wa tashbih. Boy, I need practice reading backwards. You know, when I read this thing, it's twisted. I can't see. Right? So he said, they pass it by as it was revealed, believing in it in a brief way. This is the attribute of Allah. They don't go into details. They clear Allah from al-kayfiyya and resemblance. There's no how. Allah is clear of that. Who did he say that is? Look at it. Wahum jamhur salaf. That is the majority of the salaf. Who mentioned that? نقله البيهقي وغيره عن الأئمة الأربعة. Bayhaqi and others related that from the four Imams, right? And Sufyanain, which is Sufyan ibn Uyaynah and Sufyan al-Thawri, which we mentioned. Okay, there is the page. 353. I want to ask you, who should we accept? Sufyan ibn Uyaynah, Imam Ahmed, Imam al-Shafi'i, al-Bayhaqi, Imam an-Nawawi, Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, or these dudes, as we say in the hood, or them? Who are we going to accept? All of them were Hufaz. They all memorized over 100,000 hadith with their chains of narration. They are the most relied upon scholars in the nation of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All of them trace these veins with a chain of narration unbroken. All of them were following this way, and we're going to oppose that? Help me understand. So they say we don't have dalil. What is that? What is that? I just gave you a lot of dalil from the strongest scholars of this nation. Al-Bayhaqi, an-Nawawi, Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. They were all confused. You have the books, you have the text. What are we doing after that? As we say in our, what are we doing here? Come on. Are we really doing this? Are you serious? You want us to leave these mountains of knowledge for some dwarfs who are nowhere near them in knowledge or piety? You really want us to do that? You want us to say all of them were misguided? They didn't understand the religion until we came? Do you really want us to do that? Come on, stop. Stop it. Don't make it about Amin Muhammad. Don't make it about none of us. These are the scholars who taught us this. We received that from our teachers with an unbroken chain of narration to them, and they received it with an unbroken chain of transmission to their teachers, to the Salaf, back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're going to leave all that for your claims that don't make any sense, that contradict everything you trying to alter and change and play with. They said Allah is not having a how. Don't attribute it to him. They said recite it and leave it. What do you want? You're not arguing with me anymore. There's the books. There's the scholars. What you got? They're misguided. That's what you got. You're saying they were all misguided until we came. Then if someone want to accept that foolish claim, that's them. But you're not selling us that. If someone wants to accept that foolish claim and they believe it, it's their priority, their right. We don't accept at all. We don't accept. With that, we could go further and further and further, but I think this is sufficient to rest my case. This is, and there's the books. Now, it's one possibility that could happen. I don't know how to read. That's a possibility. Okay, you read it and tell me what it says. And let me show you how deadly they are. They consider them all wrong. They consider them all wrong. They say it. They just don't tell you. an-Nawawi, Ibn Hajar Asqalani, al-Bayhaqi, in reality, Imam Ahmed, Imam Shafi, all of them were misguided. They didn't know the attributes of Allah. They made mistakes. But we, far less in knowledge, we understand. They relate to the Salaf. We broken chain Charlie, but they don't know what they're talking about. If you want to believe that, ain't nothing I can do about that. If you really believe that they didn't know what they were doing, you rely on them, you use their works to make your money and push your stuff in their names, altering their stuff, and then you tell me they didn't know what they were doing. Hey, if someone want to believe that foolishness, nothing we can do about that. That's our position. So when someone telling me or telling us, oh, why he's talking about Aqidah, all this, they're fabricating the religion to us. What do you want us to do? Be quiet? The stuff maybe, I know if they're just giving us these shiny pamphlets and we can't read nothing else and they're hiding information from us and it's not available, then maybe we're going to be hoodwinked and bamboozled and run amok. But now we are way past that. And if we're not good enough, we have teachers that can read too, that got chains of narration, that can explain too. So you can't play with us. It is what it is. Now you just want to make us, that's the works. There's the books. There's the scholars. There's the publication. There's everything. And guess what? Your editors are the one who did it. What are we left with after that? What are we left with after that? I don't know. What else do we need to say? They said it. It's in their books. They made it clear what you want from us. They are the inheritors of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They are the ones with the chains of narration. They're the ones who gave their whole life to preserving this religion. You rely on their works and you cut and paste what you like. They're clear and explicit what they're saying. What do you want? Everything you say is built on stealing their stuff and then changing it and attributing it to yourself. Just doesn't make sense. Okay, any questions? Please feel free. I'm going to answer the ones I saw. For the sake of grammatical understanding, not with regards to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Can you give the definition of istiwa? There are multiples. I'm going to bring you definitions later. I don't want to go into that. But there are around 14 different meanings. Among them is to settle, to sit, to rise above, to conquer, to subdue, to preserve. All of those are meanings of istiwa in Arabic. But I'll bring you what the grammarian said later. Once we got these points, I'll bring you what the Arabic masters of the language said about istiwa from their books, from the dictionaries and encyclopedias of the Arabic language, from the masters, not from me, what the masters said about that. The leading Arabic grammarians, what they said. We'll bring it, no problem. Not a problem. Very easy. And they said the same thing. We'll bring it, no problem. So that's coming. But I want to build slowly, right? We need foundational stuff. That's details. Because now we're going into Arabic language and more details. No problem. We can do that too. It's not a big deal. Okay. So just stay tuned. What do you do if you don't know how to read Arabic? How can you not fall into giving non-befitting meanings if all you know is English? Do what Imam Shafi'i said. I believe in Allah and what he revealed as Allah intended. And I believe in the messenger of Allah and what he conveyed as he intended it. And stop. You know that's in Arabic, right? I believe in Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and what he revealed as he intended it. Even if I don't know it in detail, I stop. I believe in the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and what he conveyed as he intended it, and I stop. Not as I imagine. That's tafweed. You're safe. So long as you don't attribute to him non-befitting things. And the other way is you have living teachers who know and you learn and they show you like we're doing, right? You just have to study. You don't have to be a scholar. I'm nowhere near a scholar. Nowhere near at all. Not even 3% of a scholar. So imagine what they were like. This is a common person telling you this. Imagine the scholars were like. Okay. That's easy. Next question. That is al-Kayf. The word is al-Kayf, not al-Khayr. Kayf. So al-Kayf and al-Kayfiyya, which means how, Kayf, / howness / modality. That's what Kayf means. And that's negated about Allah and his attributes. Okay, next question. This has nothing to do with our conversation. That's another whole different conversation. Sorry, bro. We don't get distracted. Later, we'll touch something like that, but that's not even a subject of our conversation. I don't want to get distracted. Barakallahu bikum. Just checking my understanding. Is modality synonymous to al-Kayfiyya? Yes. It's synonymous. Same, just another word for it. That was 3 statements of Sufyan ibn Uyaynah. The third statement is whatever Allah described himself with it, its explanation is its recital. And no one is allowed to interpret it except Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala and His messengers. Salawatullahi alayhim. Allah and His messengers. That's all the questions I had. And Allah knows best. Don't go there yet, Isa. Stay with Sufyan ibn Uyaynah right now. That's another level. I want stuff mastered. We'll go to, when we talk about chains, I don't want to confuse people going too far. Step by step. So we'll come to that later. Just master what we covered today. We'll come to that later. I'm learning, because you know me, I'll go into all this stuff and then we'll miss the point. I'm learning myself to stick to the point to as best as possible and to narrow it so that we master. And then we can add. But we have a tendency to go over and over and over and over and over and not get the point. So I'm going to try to narrow it. So that's why some questions I'm just not going to answer. Not because we can't answer. I don't want you to get lost in the point. And even if you may get it, someone else will get lost by all the extra stuff, because you know how people are. They're going to write all that down. That's not our discussion. We'll talk about that later. If you understand the point, the first thing, the other things are easy. Let's not go into those details. Good question. Is it sufficient for us to know the 4 points you mentioned, or should we know what Imam Ghazali mentioned? No, the 4 points is sufficient for this statement. Other stuff later, we can go into more details. Once we have foundations that are established, then we can have different discussions and different reports and books. That's another discussion. I only gave you these other points so it complements to substantiate what we mentioned. Other than that, it'd be just Imam Amin is talking. No, he's not talking. That's what the scholars mentioned. He just put it in a form that we would understand. But it is in the books of the scholars. That's what they said. In explaining the same narrations and verses that people are messing up. They mentioned it. They told you what to do. They told you the meanings. The great scholars did it. All you got to do is follow suit. It's very important. I know all of us want to get it all. Remember this statement. Whoever seeks knowledge in its entirety all at once will miss knowledge in its entirety. Whoever try to get all the knowledge in one sitting will miss the whole thing. Don't do that. We mentioned last week, knowledge, al-ilmu bit-tadarruj. Knowledge is by stages, step by step by step. Stop trying to get everything. You can't. You're not like that. I know we would think we are. We're not. We're going to get branches and forget foundations. That's us. We have the root. Then we start building. By the time we get a bunch of branches, we forgot the roots. That's our problem. Most of us are not rooted, and we're branching all over the place, and we're not rooted. And that's why we get confused. Get rooted. Some people say, oh, you're arrogant. I'm not arrogant. I'm well-rooted. I know what I'm doing. And I realize when you're branching and tripping, I know you're tripping. I know what I'm doing. My teachers made sure we were well-rooted. We knew what we knew. We repeated over and over and over for decades. So it became a part of us. Does that mean we're not going to make mistakes? No, but we ain't making no big mistakes. And if we make some bigger, there's slips of the tongue. But the creed is firmly rooted in the heart, well understood and supported. May Allah reward them and give them the greatest reward that a teacher has ever received on behalf of his students, because they helped us. The hadith of the slave girl is mentioned in chapter 6, book number 6. The chapter is chapter number Bab, the section. The book is the book of masjids, right? The section is Bab Tahrim and Kalam fi Salat, the section of the unlawfulness of speaking in the prayer. That's where it is. So that's the section there. Where is it? Yeah, right there. That's the section heading right there. And that's the book section of the book, Kitab al-Masajid. Ouch. Uh-oh. Time to stop. All right, is everything clear? Did we clear? Now you understand why we said? We all good? Is everything clear? We're going to come to that tomorrow, inshallah, because you need to know the truth first. And the second is, we'll come to that. So do me a favor, Malika, preserve that for tomorrow morning and make it the first thing I do. Or if I don't make it tomorrow morning, the next time when I continue, make sure I start with that. Because once you got the Sunni side, now I can discuss it because you understand the Sunni side. Do you understand the side of the majority of the Salaf, the Ash'ariyah and Maturidi, their safe position, and the position of the Hanabila? Do y'all understand that well? All this, I have the evidences, the books, all of this stuff is easy. It's not like difficult stuff. We'll just build on it, but we need a foundation to start. We need a foundation. Foundation is very important. The sessions usually are every morning, but the problem is sometimes, because of my life changes, now I'm not able to do it at the same time every morning. I'm trying to work that out. So I only can do it when I can. I try to do it every day, but my life circumstances always don't allow me to be free at the same time every morning. But I'm trying, inshallah. So I cannot promise that every single morning is going to be at the same time, or it's going to happen every single morning. My intention is tomorrow, but if not, the next day, no problem. Until I get my schedule back to every day like I can. That's going to be quite challenging. That's not under my control. May Allah give us tawfiq to do it. But life changes. And when life changes, you have to change with it. Inshallah. But we have the strong intention to do it every day and in the morning, but it takes readjusting. Inshallah. Okay, inshallah. We'll see you tomorrow. May Allah reward you. Please review. Go back. Take notes. Write down. Don't rely on your memory. Go back. Look at the video over. Please share it. Like it. Now, when you got it, go share it with someone else. Talk to them. Make sure you got it. And by tomorrow, you should have it firm so I can have many of you explain, right? That's the objective, to learn it well, right? And it's a lot. That was a lot today. So go back, review. Review it at least 2 times, right? Right? But review. So, like, review. It's very important. I'm not doing this for my health. Right? So come on, please review, understand well. You're going to help somebody be protected from misguidance if you learn well. Learn well. Barakallahu bikum. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.